Michael. Well, we can go ahead and get started with Impact and Coffee this morning. It is 9 o'clock. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. I know folks will start to trickle in on a Tuesday morning here around 9 o'clock. So, but it's really great to get started with all of you today. And good morning to you, Michael. How have you been today? How was your weekend?
Hey, I'm great. My weekend was great. I made a tour of a bunch of the farmers markets here around Albuquerque, so that was pretty exciting for me to see that they're back and operational with music and food and all that stuff. So if you guys haven't checked them out, you should. Yeah, it's great. It's great to be here. Like I told Robert earlier, I've got my windows open, and so I have a nice breeze going through the house. So I'm grateful for that too. So yeah, thank you everybody for joining us today.
Michael, could you tell us a little bit about what Impact and Coffee is?
Sure can, yeah. So Impact and Coffee is an open, welcoming conversation to exchange stories and ideas, to foster innovation, to strengthen the nonprofit sector, and to build community. We usually do, in non-COVID times, we would meet at the Albuquerque Community Foundation. So shout out to them for always hosting us there. And it was always wonderful because we were kind of brought together and we were able to share a nice warm cup of coffee from Lily Marie's Coffee, who's out of the South Valley, out of the mixing bowl of the South Valley Economic Development Center. So thank you to her for always supplying us the coffee. So basically Impact and Coffee is a weekly nonprofit meetup where we bring people together to celebrate their successes, to talk about some of their struggles, to find avenues for collaboration, and just to learn what's going on in the nonprofit world. So yeah, that's kind of in a nutshell what Impact and Coffee is.
That's awesome. Thanks, Mike. And also today is Gratitude Tuesday. It is a practice of ours to express our gratitude for anything that's going on in our lives and around community. And I was just wondering, Michael, is there anything that you're especially grateful for today?
Gosh, I'm thankful for lots of stuff, I guess. I'm thankful for my health. It's something that I think we often take for granted. So I'm happy to be healthy, and I'm happy to see that it seems like the United States is getting healthy too, and it looks like with things kind of opening up, things are feeling a little more normal again. So health is a good thing these days. Well, it always is. But yeah. And how about you, Robert? What are you grateful for?
I'm also grateful for my health. I'm also grateful for my family. They came over last week, and I had a chance to just drive them around to doctor's appointments and just hang out and actually go to the sawmill market last week, which was really great. And actually ran into Mariah, our good friend Mariah Harrison, on last Tuesday night. So it was good to see her and good to see my family and be with them. For anyone else in the audience, if you're new to Impact and Coffee, go ahead and introduce yourself if you haven't yet on the chat. And just share your name, your organization, your pronouns, and anything that you're grateful for on this Gratitude Tuesday. Some announcements for us. So Next Gen, we still are the host for the Next Gen Award. If you don't know anything about that, the Next Gen Award is a $1,000 grant, small award for any nonprofits that are working to build capacity with mostly engaged with youth activities. So if you have any ideas or anything like that, feel free to approach Michael or myself or any of our other Impact and Coffee team. I know Danny and Denise are out there today. We really appreciate y'all for all the hard work in making this happen three times a month. And I think that's all for our announcements, though, Michael. But actually, I will add this. So if you also have any events, I'll also plug this later in the programming too. If you have any events that you'd like to share, you're welcome to post on our Facebook group. It's called ABQ Impactors. And if you're not a member of that group, go ahead and join it. You just have to just search for ABQ Impactors on Facebook, and we'll let you in. And you can post there and just create a buzz and just develop relationships there too. It's part of the Impact and Coffee Network, especially. So, but without further ado, we're going to start with our first speaker. His name is Ari Jontry. We really appreciate you joining us. Welcome, Ari. What we're going to do is spotlight your screen really quick. There we go.
Thanks for having me, Robert. Michael. So my name is Ari. I'm the veteran liaison here at Assistance Dogs of the West in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And I'm going to share my screen here real quick. Everybody see this? Awesome. All right. So who we serve? So we're a service dog organization. We've been around since the mid-90s. And essentially how it works for us is we have dogs that either see one person or dogs that go to many people. And what that means is we have facility dogs that will go to things such as courthouse facilities. So these are dogs that are paired with DA's offices, stuff like that, where the dogs can be matched up with children. A lot of times, kids are caught up in the court systems here in the United States, and you're not allowed to go through that system with a guardian. And in many cases, those guardians actually are part of the crime aspect of what's going on with the children. So they get assigned one of our dogs, and the dogs can kind of go through that whole system with them. Crisis response. That's going to be organizations like police departments, fire departments. We even have dogs with the FBI. And so when you have, on a national scale, something like a massive shooting or something of that nature, these dogs are deployed with a special unit that the FBI has that goes and helps with secondary trauma for mostly, the first responders, but then also for the families of the victims that have to go and identify, belongings and such things. Dogs, as we all know, are great friends of humans. Like just by looking at them, we release all the happy, good feeling hormones, and research has just kind of shown us that they really help out in times of need. So let me just go back here. The dogs we serve for one-on-one, that's going to be more so for people that need mobility support, people in wheelchairs, diabetic alert. So those are people with type 1 diabetes. We can actually train our dogs to detect lows in blood sugar, seizure alert, anxiety disorders. That kind of comes into where I work with Forward Flag. So there was, out of Walter Reed Hospital, there was a program started called the Warrior Canine Connection. And what that program started off as was a means to take veterans, a lot of them with PTSD, and show them the skills of how to train service dogs. And so we're a satellite program of that in New Mexico. And I offer classes here in Santa Fe and also in conjunction with Forward Flag in Albuquerque. And we've been doing that now for about 5-6 years. And that's another way where one dog, one person kind of has an impact on people's lives. So we have our own breeding program. And we pretty much breed our dogs with the thought that they're going to be a courthouse facility dog. Again, so these are dogs that are going to be teamed up with either DA agencies, district attorneys, or victims advocate groups. And then these dogs can kind of help with interviews, that sort of thing. We actually just recently placed a dog with the Albuquerque Police Department's special unit crimes. So that's going to be, again, crimes of sexual nature, difficult crimes like that. Having a dog kind of break the ice and help people along in that journey is extremely helpful. So we breed our own Labradors, and we're breeding them for that temperament to kind of just be around a ton of people through their career. And dogs that fall on the sides, either dogs that have a little bit more drive or a little less drive, that's fine too, because those dogs can become sniffer dogs or other dogs that we would use for other disabilities. So people always ask how our dogs are trained. We start training them the day they're born, and it takes about 2,000 hours, which equates to about 2 years or so of training. And as soon as they're born, we start introducing them to different textures, different sounds. Again, we just want these dogs to be as comfortable in any environment as possible. So I'll just do a little video here because everybody loves puppies.
wonderful way to spend your time, caring for these precious little puppies. We started the puppy enrichment protocol because we needed calm, confident, and coordinated puppies to be able to be effective service dogs for whatever job they were going to do. From birth to 16 weeks is when a puppy's brains are most receptive to new experiences. We start with the right genetics to make sure that we have the right temperament to want to do the job. Secondly, the task work is only a portion of what you need to create in a dog. As they develop into service dogs, their foundation behaviors are all positive.
I had no idea that they started off from day one training these puppies, from putting little weird objects in their pen to when they get a little older, having them pick up keys with their mouth and objects that normal dogs don't really deal with. There's cement blocks, there's soft things, there's metal, there's all of these different textures that they get to experience. And what do puppies like to do? They like to experience with their mouths. What do we need them to do? As a service dog, we need them to pick up anything that they can physically pick up. We need them to do that, right?
I can remember somewhere around week 6 or week 7 that for me, the personalities really emerged. And my favorites started to emerge. And those favorites I bonded with them and they bonded with me. And those are still relationships that I have. In fact, I just went and visited them.
Training a service dog is not just about tasks, and it's not just about getting the dog to do something. It's about, can I create a partnership in a dog who will go the extra mile regardless of what's going on in their world? Sure, a dog can pick up the keys. Sure, the dog can open up the door. But can the dog pick up the keys when it's raining outside and it's happened to fall, next to a puddle? Or if it's accidentally slipped underneath the person's wheelchair, will they use their paw to reach underneath there and get that for the person? So the partnership in which you want to have your dog help somebody out is a huge portion of their training. There you go. That was perfect. Yes, that was perfect. What a good girl.
I wanted to give back again, and ADW was just such a great organization. And I mean, who doesn't want to play with puppies? Everybody wants to play with puppies. So being able to help out the community with something that I'm passionate about was definitely kind of what brought me to ADW specifically.
It's an important job to take care of our puppies. So it made me feel what I was doing was very meaningful.
To be involved in an organization like Assistance Dogs of the West is really not only serving on a board or serving in a capacity as a volunteer, but it's really a way to give back and enrich lives. And to me, that has a lot of meaning.
Sorry, I'm having a little technical difficulties here.
I think up at the top center is where it says stop sharing
There
screen.
it is. Yeah.
There you go. Excellent.
I'm used to a Mac and we have PCs at work. All right, so that's kind of the gist of what we do here. It's Paco. I have a dog right here, actually. Hi, buddy. It's about 1:15. I thought I'd leave some time for some Q&As if anybody had questions about what we're doing. And also, I noticed, Denise, you included some questions about COVID and how we had to deal with that. So I left some time to talk about that as well. So yeah.
Excellent. Could you tell us a little bit about how you got involved with Assistance Dogs of the West? Because we always like to hear the personal story and that connection.
Of course.
So if you could share a little bit about that, we'd appreciate it.
So I'm actually a veteran myself, but not in the usual sense. I grew up in Israel, where there's a mandatory service, and I served in a reconnaissance unit over there. And I lived in Santa Fe back in the mid to late 90s. I went to school here at St. John's College and moved back east, and always missed New Mexico. And one of those main reasons why I decided to move back too was dealing with my own PTSD from my military service. When I moved back here, I met a friend that was on the board of ADW, and I had a lot of dog training experience from my background. Some of it just around working military dogs, and others just I had an interest in it through life. And so I went to a Warrior Canine Connection class, and Jill, the founder, who you saw in the video, just kind of took me under her wing and was like, really mentored me. And now I'm kind of running the program. Paco, off. So that's where I'm at.
Awesome. Great. Thank you. Yeah. And I love to see the dog in the background because that's stuff that you have to deal with on a daily basis.
It sure is.
Super cute.
So we typically have about around 40 dogs. Sometimes it'll be, less than that sometimes. Never really more. 40 is usually about our cap off. And I guess I'll say this a little bit about the questions that Denise worded. So, when we had to close down for COVID, a big thing was, what are we going to do with all of these dogs? And we kind of reached out. Luckily, we already have an extremely strong community of volunteers. And we essentially just had puppy raisers take on the dogs during COVID. So they enjoyed kind of a household setting without having to be kenneled. So that was kind of a big thing that people just kind of came out and really, really helped out.
What is Ari? What is something you're looking forward to now that we've gotten over a year of the pandemic under our belts? What is something that you're absolutely looking forward to this year?
Well, I'm really looking forward to matching people up with some dogs. So we have an extremely long waiting list. During that first month of COVID, we probably got more applications for service dogs than we had in the previous 3 years. Wow. In that 1 month. So, I think it gave time for people to reflect on their needs and what was important for them in life, and that's companionship. And yeah, so it's going to be really nice to actually get some dogs out to people. So,
could you talk a little bit more? I know you covered this in the slides, but talk a little bit more. Is there a story you'd like to share from any one person that's been paired with a hi? Hello.
Well, I'm actually going to leave that. I'm going to leave that question for later.
Okay.
To Ted, because Ted has been with the Warrior Canine Connection for 5 years or longer, and he's actually currently training his own dog. So that's a service that we provide. It's called the Owner Self-Training program. And that is, we'll vet a dog, a personal dog, and if we feel like they have what it takes to be a service dog, then we can help people through that path as well.
That's awesome. What is your puppy's name in the back over here?
That is Taco.
Taco. Okay.
Yep.
Hi, Taco. He seems very interested in your chords and stuff back there.
He sure was. We currently have a new litter of 5 black Labradors. And you can more than welcome to follow us on social media, assistancedogsofthewest.org. We're, we're on Facebook, we're on Insta, we're on everything. And they're 6 weeks old now. So, and we're at this point typically averaging about 2 to 3 litters a year.
Okay. I know Denise had a question in there. How many dogs currently get trained? You said 5, but what is that a different question or a different?
Well, how many dogs are currently getting trained? We have about 30 dogs right now that are being trained.
And if you don't mind, you said your waiting list is very long. How long is the waiting list right now?
So there's really no way of saying because it's not a first come, first serve type of situation. We like to say that the dogs really pick the client. So depending on the client's needs, it could be extremely fast. It could be years. So it really just depends on the circumstance. But we are definitely backlogged quite a bit right now.
How many staff members do you have?
We have about 16.
Okay, that's awesome. Cool. Well, I'm going to ask one last time if anyone in the chat, if they'd like to lay down a question in the chat, you're welcome to do so, or you're welcome to unmute yourself and ask a question as well. We have about a couple more minutes and then we'll break and then do a little networking. But just Ari, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for sharing and thanks for introducing us to Taco. All good stuff. Michael, do you have any other questions before we start to transition?
Do you typically work with labs, or is that just what you have right now?
So
I noticed in the video they were all labs too.
We have a breeding program where we actually breed English Labradors. So they're the more blocky Labradors. And that's typically what we work with. A lot of people ask, well, why Labradors? There's a few reasons. One is, right, all their last names are retrievers. So they're natural retrievers. And having a service dog, that's going to be a big part of their daily job. Retrieves are something we start off very early on. I mean, sometimes you have somebody with $100,000 prosthetic. The dog has to have a velvet touch to be able to lift that up and bring it to their person. So that's one aspect about Labradors. The other is they're kind of non-intimidating. So, I mean, German Shepherds and Malinois dogs that I work with in the military are great, easy to train animals. But again, sometimes intimidating. So these dogs, for instance, we have dogs both in the MIHO program and the HEART program of the Santa Fe and Albuquerque, respectively, fire departments. So these are programs that were developed to kind of be preemptive for 911 callers. There's been a lot of research showing that a lot of the 911 calls are being made by the same people over and over again. They're just at-risk people within the community. So the fire departments now have a paramedic teamed up with a social worker that will go and check up on folks that might need a little extra assistance in life. And now, a lot of times the fire department will have one of our dogs to break the ice. And having a big squishy Labrador with somebody in a uniform is a lot less threatening than, a dog with pointy ears. So that's another reason why Labradors. We do occasionally work with other organizations and we'll get standard poodles or Labradoodles and some other breeds, but 98% of all of our dogs are going to be Labrador retrievers.
Then we do have a question in the chat. Do you track the dogs once they're replaced or once they graduate from your program?
Absolutely. So we have an overseeing organization called ADI, Assistance Dogs International. That's pretty much the highest degree of service dog certificate you can get. And they do require pretty much annual checkups and recertifications. So it's not one of those things where like a dog is never just completely trained. It's something that you got to keep up with for the rest of your life and the dog's life. So once we create that relationship with a client, you pretty much have this with you for the rest of your life. which is nice because it's a lot easier saying goodbye to a dog you just trained for 2 years when you know you're going to get to see him again.
That's really awesome. I'll invite any last questions in the chat or unmute yourself, and then we'll go ahead and transition because it's about 9:26. So again, Ari, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Go
Sure.
for it.
Do you, or how do you prepare the humans who are getting to work with the dogs? Like, how do you know that the dog is going to a place where it's going to be taken care of and, taken care of?
So that's a great question. And part of that is just through our application process. It's quite lengthy. It's quite involved. It has everything to do with a person's mental well-being to home visits and checking up that their backyard fencing is adequate. So it's quite the process. And then once a person is matched to a dog, there's a 2-week, very intensive placement program where essentially, right, the person has to learn how to become a dog handler. So that gets to be all part of it as well.
I don't think I can get enough of Taco climbing on the table behind you.
I know. So Taco's a little pup. He is about 5 months, I think, right now.
Nope. There he goes.
Okay. Right here. Thank you.
Yeah.
Happy to retrieve.
That's a great plug. We really appreciate it. Anyway, y'all, I think we're going to transition to our break really quick. Mike, was there anything you wanted to add before we get going? No,
Definitely. We forgot our most important question, Robert.
That's
so
right.
We always ask our panelists, people who come and speak, what is something that this community can do for you? So how can we help you? What are you looking for? Where do you need help? And so forth. So how can we help you today?
Well, I mean, we are community based. So just keep working with us. That's the thing. Something that sets Assistance Dogs of the West apart from so many organizations around the country is our dogs don't live in kennels, right? They go home to families and experience family life every weekend, and some dogs every day. And, these are folks that are volunteering their homes, their time. We couldn't do it without them. So it's really just being community focused. And so far it's working. So thank you, everyone. Taco.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that, Ari. We appreciate you and Taco being here today.
Thanks, y'all. Actually, I think for the sake of time, what we should do is transition to Casey and to Ted, if y'all are ready. And I'm gonna just make sure that we spotlight folks really quickly. Hold on. There we go. And Ted. Where's Ted? There's Ted.
Good morning, everybody. I'm going to attempt to share my screen as well. If I can find what I'm looking for. Here it is. Here it is. So my name's Casey, and I'm relatively new at Forward Flag, being here just a smidge over a month. Ted Skibyak, he's up there with the bus behind him. You can see painted up for Forward Flag. He's been here about 6 years. We're both veterans and passionate about working with veterans. So a little bit about Forward Flag. We're over here on 21 Aztec Road. Our mission to increase awareness of and reduce veteran suicide. We do this through activities, QPR or suicide prevention training, outreach. Here are our founders, Roger Pipkins and John McGill. I haven't had the pleasure of meeting John. I'm not sure of his whereabouts, but Roger, he's in Tennessee doing a Forward Flag location over in that area. Their vision is to raise awareness of the high rate of veteran suicide and offer preventative measures. particularly in the rural areas of New Mexico, where it's difficult for people to have access to resources. Some of the preventative measures that we do, free online QPR suicide awareness and prevention training. You can see on this picture here that if you go to that website, qprtraining.com/setup.php and enter the organizational code VETS, you can take this training for free. It's about an hour. There are about 20 to 22 veteran suicides a day. So one thing that we can do to help with that is educate ourselves about how to recognize and talk to someone who is feeling suicidal and considering that as an option. QPR means question, persuade, refer. Ask a question, save a life. It's not intended to be counseling or treatment. However, it is intended to offer hope through positive action and giving people the tools in order to do that with confidence. You can, sorry about that. The QPR training that we offer, pretty much anything that you can find on the QPR Institute website can be taught by certain members of our staff. But some of the ones that we do are listed here, in particular the warrior psychology. QPR is intended for veterans, or intended for people who work with veterans and who need to have a greater understanding of how veterans are thinking. And Ted, feel free to jump in at any time if Ted is one of our trainers, and he certainly has a lot of experience in that. We serve veterans and also their family and friends. So veterans, family, friends can come here and participate in any of our activities and events. And some of the services we provide with our rural outreach would be helping with employment issues, resumes, connection with workforce solution, transportation, helping with VA benefits and how to utilize those, and getting documents together for widow or family members. And we work closely with the VA. We have a DAV service officer that we work with, that veterans can come in and arrange something either in person or virtually to talk about their issues with benefits and what's available to them. So Ted has the picture of this behind him in his little thumbnail, but that the one on top here is the one that we have in New Mexico, and the one on the bottom in this photo is in Tennessee. And it's intended to be deployed throughout New Mexico to reach some of those rural areas that don't get a lot of access to resources otherwise. Typically, those rural outreaches can last up to 4 days at a time, because a lot of these veterans, they're way out there and they don't have the ability to necessarily get the access to the resources and the help that they need. So we'll go out there for a few days and try to reach as many as we can. And we also go to local festivals and special events, and we are honored and privileged to be able to help on some of the Indian reservations, such as the Navajo Nation. So that's a little bit about us. We try to provide local, consistent, and inclusive opportunities for veterans to connect through physical and social activity. Because one of the things that we do in our preventative measures for suicide is to offer veterans a place to go that's safe, a place where they can participate in activities, break their isolation, go out and do some positive things, and develop positive relationships with others. And we host regular activities, social gatherings, and community service events, and facilitate building, strong local connections with members and organizations in the community. Some of the activities that we have, as you know, we partner with Ari at the Assistance Dogs of the Southwest, and they come on Mondays and they do Warrior Canine Connection, or they run the Warrior Canine Connection that enables veterans to come in and train a dog for another veteran and to get that positive interaction. You can definitely learn a lot about yourself by interacting with dogs. And in addition to that, we also have or host the 505 Leash Project here that Assistance Dogs at Southwest supplies the materials for that. What was that, Ted?
No south in there. It's just Assistance Dogs of the West.
Oh, I don't know why I'm putting South in there. Okay, sorry about it. Assistance Dogs of the West. We also have art supplies available at any time if someone wants to come in and do art. We don't offer archery lessons anymore, but we hope to re-implement that sometime in the future, as well as the yoga is something that kind of dropped off as a result of just how slow things have been with the pandemic. But these are things we hope to get up and running here soon. We still have our beginners guitar lessons on Tuesdays, and we have a master barber that comes in and can give haircuts to veterans for a donation, but it's not required. We have gym equipment, foosball table, ping pong, and we now actually have a pool table. It's not on here. Help with veterans benefits, and we work very closely with the VA and the Veterans Diversion Program, and so we often have opportunities for those veterans to come in and complete their community service and to learn about us here. Oftentimes they'll come back, when they're done with their community service because they found a place here with us. And we offer AA and Smart Recovery meetings, and we're hoping to offer NA at some point in the future, although currently we're not doing that. And some of the offsite things that we do or could do is equine therapy. We're reaching out to some of those local equine people who offer equine therapy and trying to see about getting a group together for veterans to go to camping trips, fishing trips, really any activity that we can conceive of and can get together and get an interest in, we'd like to do. We typically or we try to have some CPSWs or certified peer support workers available here. That way veterans who are having issues, they can come in and have that support from a peer. And our staff here are trained in QPR suicide gatekeeper training. I'm not sure, and Ted, you might be able to help me out with this. I'm not sure if we still do the in-house legal counsel and financial counseling. That might have been something we did in the past.
Right, that is something that one of our past people that worked with us in the past that's now left us is used to do for us.
Okay. Veterans Justice Outreach Coordinator. Again, I'm not sure about that, but I do know that we work very closely with the Veterans Diversion Program and with the district and metro courts that have veterans that are going through the veteran courts and stuff. They can come here and do community service, and we also reach out to them and invite some of those veterans to come out and help with events and to get them out and surrounded by other veterans and to show them that there's a place where they can go. They can have fun without drugs and alcohol, not just those the Veteran Diversion Program veterans, but all veterans. Of course, we partner with Assistance Dogs of the West and Warrior Canine Connection. I'm not sure about the full. What was that?
That's Larry Lucero's group.
Oh, okay. full battle rattle disabled American veterans. We do offer, we can supervise, or I can supervise CPSWs who come in and are interested in that. All QPR trainers are supervised by the QPR Institute Master Trainer. And I'm not sure about the VA staff being supervised by both a psychologist and a licensed independent social worker, but I imagine that is still the case. What was that?
That's Camilla.
Okay, so that would be Camilla for the VDP. Veteran court mentors are supervised by the mentor coordinator, who's supervised by the Veteran Justice Outreach Coordinator. So we definitely have some good supervision in place, and support from the QPR Institute, Rocky Mountain, MIREC, New Mexico Office of Peer Support and Recovery, LifeLink, and New Mexico Department of Behavioral Health Services. We're open Monday through Friday. It's 9 to 5. And Saturday is not technically an official business day, but we are open 9 to 2. And we have someone here, and we have woodworking on that day. So probably going to end up changing that at some point. And we offer a monthly newsletter. So if anyone's interested in getting on that, just shoot me your email and let me know, and I can make sure that I send that out to you. So that's us in a nutshell.
Can you leave it on the bookmark?
Yes. There it
Right
is.
there. One of our biggest things is we want to prevent veteran suicide. And we've got to stop asking veterans and other people to sign up for a program or to call a phone number. What we need to do is reach those people where they are. So one of the things that we offer is the suicide prevention training. And what we believe is we need to surround that person that may become suicidal or is suicidal with people that understand how to tell when somebody's suicidal, how to talk to them, and how to get them help. And maybe that way we can prevent the next veteran suicide. Because asking them to call a phone number or sign up with a program at the VA, we can see that that's not working. Go ahead, Casey.
I'm ready to answer questions. I hope I didn't take too long with that intro about us.
No, I think that's all right. I just wanted to ask both of you, could y'all share how y'all got involved personally with Forward Flag?
Personally, in 2015, I was on my way to drill. Somebody made a U-turn into me. I lost the use of my right arm. It's paralyzed. All the nerves that controlled that arm were torn out of my spinal. I was a command sergeant major, which is as high as you can get on the enlisted side, with a MP battalion here in the state. I was found not fit for duty because of that crash. The Army National Guard medically retired me. I could no longer do my full-time job, which was as a police officer. And I accidentally ran into our coffee bunker at an EMS conference. I stopped in, talked to Roger Pipkins, and found out about the mission of Forward Flag and decided to help take that on, and I've been working with them ever since. So it's been about 6 years. Go ahead, Casey.
Yeah, I actually started my journey here just coming in as a veteran to use the services around the beginning of the year this year. And when the position opened up, I expressed an interest, and here I am. And I'm happy to be here. This is it's an honor to be a part of an organization that has a mission that aligns with my values and with my passion. And I'm excited to see where it goes.
Thanks both for sharing. And I think we'll open it, like anyone who would like to ask a question, you're welcome to do so in the chat. But I just wanted to ask, like, how what were some of your big challenges last year with the pandemic, and what are some things you're looking forward to getting out of this year?
Since I've only been here about a month, I don't have the firsthand experience that maybe others have, but I can tell you that there was some time that the organization had to close down, and we weren't able to offer those in-person services. And a lot of our stuff did go virtual, if it was possible, such as our AA meetings, our smart recovery meetings. Some of our trainings went virtual. And now that the restrictions have been somewhat released or released, we're starting to see an uptick in people who are coming out. And now we just really need to get the word out that we are up and running, so that we can get our numbers back up and help as many veterans as we can. Another thing and challenge that's happened is the bunker, the Bluebird bus that does our outreach, has been out of commission for a little while because of damage to the transmission. And so hopefully that's going to be back up and running in about a week. And with that outreach being back up and running, we'll be able to reach an additional 500 to 600 veterans a month, which will be very good.
Ted, you're on mute. If there's something you wanted to share.
Yes, one of the things about, we have an ulterior motive about getting our numbers up. Some of the main reasons that we opened this office and started having people be able to come in here is that we want to prevent veterans from, or allow opportunities to keep veterans from isolating. Because when veterans isolate, bad things happen. So if we can get them down here and open the archery range, have them involved with an art project, have them involved with woodworking, have them come in and learn how to train an assistance dog. All of these things help those veterans come in, be around other veterans, and stop isolating, because that isolation is something that we've found increases, or that has been shown that it increases the depression and suicidal ideations.
There is a question in the chat. Do you find that there are additional challenges that vets are facing now after the pandemic with which they need additional support?
Yes, I've got several vets that have been coming in that are having a hard time re-engaging with the public. We had I was down with Adaptive Sports Program New Mexico at their Elephant Butte Lake program that they had last month or the month before. And one of the vets that I know real well came down there, but she couldn't stay because it was just too much for her, because she'd been in isolation too long, or so long she wasn't used to the people around her. Even though it wasn't a crowd, it was just that interaction that she wasn't used to. Go ahead.
Does that answer your question?
It does. Thanks both. Just wondering, are there any other questions out there in the chat, or I'd also welcome anybody to unmute. if they're interested.
I have another question. Before COVID, how often were organizations asking for the bunker visits? Like how often, say a month, were you going out to the communities?
I think you're on mute.
We had a full-time person here that would go out several times a month, 3 to 4 times a month. She's no longer here with us. She got a technician position, a full-time position with the National Guard. Because of my limitations, about twice a month.
Wow, that's really frequently. That's awesome.
And when I go out, I usually take the bunker out for about 3 days. We'll leave here the first day in the morning, go set up someplace. I've been everywhere from Raton to Columbus, New Mexico. Go out there, set up for the rest of the day. Once we get there, set up all the next day, then the third morning, and then come home.
And how many people, I mean, do you get to see or have contact with many vets at each site? Or what is the average number of people that you see during each visit?
Probably about 100.
Wow.
I was up at Angel Fire for the Memorial Day weekend. I spoke to over 300 people about suicide and suicide awareness, suicide prevention. I gave each one of them one of these cards that you see on the screen. I was at Chicala Haystack, and we only saw 15 for about 4 or 5 hours. So, and like I said, it was only a 4 or 5 hour trip where the Angel Fire was a 3-day weekend. So I was up there all of Saturday, all of Saturday, all of Sunday, and part of Monday.
Wow, that's quite a bit of people.
We try.
I do have another question. Do you take your dog, and what is your dog's name?
My dog's name is Hawkeye. Yes, I do take him with me. Let me see if we can do this.
Well, there we go.
Oh.
That's Hawkeye. He and I were up in Chama. I work with another group called Healing America's Heroes, and they do equine and fly fishing therapy for vets with PTSD, MTBI, military sexual trauma. And Hawkeye and I were up there working on training horses.
Wow. How long has Hawkeye been trained? And did you go through the training with him? Or how did you get trained too?
I've been, for about 6 years now, I've been working with or coming in and learning from Assistance Dogs of the West through the Warrior Canine Connection. I've been coming in and training their dogs. I've taken that home to my dogs. Hawkeye, we've had for about 4 years now. He just turned 4 years old. And I started training him there at the house with the training techniques I've learned here. And then turned around around January of this year, he actually was accepted into the Assistance Dogs of the West Owner Self-Training Program. he is about to graduate that program as a fully certified service dog.
That's incredible. It's a great story.
No problem. I really appreciate it. He's laying at my feet right now.
Oh,
All right, so I was looking at your website, and it looks like, and you mentioned this also about the organization being in Tennessee and New Mexico. How are these two places selected, or how did that come about? Because that's kind of an odd pairing.
Yeah, it is. What happened there is Roger Pipkins and John McGill lived here, and they were sitting around complaining at dinner about the number of veteran suicides, and their wives told them, well, do something about it. Well, from there, they started working Forward Flag. Because of health problems, Roger had to leave our altitude and go back to Tennessee. So once he got there, he started the program down there. So that's the history of why we're in those two states.
All right, thank you.
Well, it's 9:57. I was just going to ask our last question. What is something our community can do for y'all today?
Get the word out. Get people in here. Help us get the word out about, let's talk about suicide. Let's stop. It's more taboo to talk about suicide than to talk about sex in this country. We've got to break that taboo. The second leading cause of death in our 10-year-olds is suicide. It's not just a veteran problem. We've got to work on these things. In the police community, it's 3 times more likely for an officer to take their own life than to have them to be killed by homicide. So we've got to do something about it. And our idea is to train as many people as we can in suicide prevention and to engage about suicide. Let's start talking about it so that those people will talk about it. Mm-hmm.
That's really great, y'all. We really appreciate you. Big virtual round of applause for our speakers this morning, Casey and Ted and Ari. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate y'all and all the great work that you're doing, especially out in our community. So we hope to see you soon. So we have another Impact and Coffee next week on July 20th. So join us here on Zoom on July 20th at 9 a.m. You're welcome to, Ted, Ari, and Casey, you're welcome to join us and come back for that and network and hang out with us and learn a little bit more about some of the other things that are going on. I'll also plug our Facebook group one more time, ABQ Impactors. So if you go up on Facebook, if you're on Facebook, check out ABQ Impactors and you can share your events and your announcements there. That way you can get to know some more of our community that comes to Impact and Coffee throughout the month. Big shout out to everyone who came and joined us. A lot of our regulars that came out to join us this morning. We really appreciate you joining us for Impact and Coffee. And hopefully, like Michael was saying earlier, I know we missed Lily Marie's coffee. We'll have we'll be doing this in person soon, so we can actually have the coffee part of Impact and Coffee. So stay tuned for that, and we'll let y'all know when that happens as soon as we can. And big shout out to all the Impact and Coffee team, to Michael and to Danny and to Denise and to Abby and to Jermaine. Thank you so much for your support as we make Impact and Coffee happen throughout the month. So with that, it's 10 o'clock. I hope everyone has a really great Tuesday, and may all your lights be green. We'll see you soon, folks. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.